What would you think if I told you that the Snow Fitness Center changed my life? About 7 years ago, another associate, one that I didn't even know, changed everything by asking me one little question: why not? It's not the first time that someone's asked me that. When I was in my early 20s, I was going through a really rough time. I was getting divorced, feeling like a huge failure. My plan in life was not going as I expected. And during that time, I went to visit my parents in Houston. And my dad said to me, "Why don't we run a 10K together?" And I said, "Dad, I can't run a 10K. And he said, "Why not?" I had plenty of reasons why not. I had only ever run 2 miles in my life. This would require me to run 6 of them in a row. I had never been in shape, and really, I just didn't like running. But I didn't want to say any of those things to my dad. So instead, I said, okay, and I trained for the race. 2 months later, we went and we ran that 10K in Houston at the Rodeo Run, 2001. And my dad probably ran slower than he has ever run in his whole life so that we could do that whole race together, but it was so much fun. What I really took away from it, though, was that through the training, I had been able to work through some of these emotional issues that I was having. The running was making me feel better. It was helping me to process some of this stuff. And for that reason, I was hooked. I was a runner. Slow one, but I was a runner. Almost 9 years ago, I came to Capital Group, and the first thing that I did was meet my best friend, Shelly Bealey, and she is here right now. Hi, Shelly. Shelly and I went to a training class for the Franklin Covey training that all the new knowledge management associates took. And we learned how to organize our lives, and we got a little inspired too. And we started talking about running. Shelly wasn't a runner either, but she became one. We started running around the campus at Snow. We would run around the loop road. We'd run a bigger loop around Rogers. We ran by this hotel. And we were running 3 or 4 days a week, and we were really enjoying it. And when we'd go into the cafe together, or the break room, people would come up to us and say, "Hey, are you those girls who are always running around here?" And we'd say yes, and we'd laugh. And we loved that people were identifying us as runners. I mean, that was kind of cool. We were still slow. One day, we came back from a run, and we went into the Snow Fitness Center, and we were going to go and stretch in the aerobics room. And there was another associate in there. He was already stretching. And he said, "Hey, are you those girls who are always running around here?" And we laughed and said yes. And he said, "Have you ever thought about trying a triathlon?" And we just started laughing and said, no, there is no way that we could do a triathlon. Guess what he said? Why not? Dan from the gym does not know this, but on that day, he set us on the path to trying to become an Ironman. Ironman, what is that? Has anyone here done one? All right, then I'll tell everybody what it is. An Ironman is an endurance race. It's 140.6 miles, and you travel in 1 day. First, you swim 2.5 miles. Then you ride your bike 112 miles. And then, to finish the day, you run a full marathon, 26.2 miles. Yeah. You start at 7 a.m., and you have until midnight to finish. If you don't finish by midnight, it doesn't count. Like, you're not listed in the official record of the event. If you do finish by midnight, 17 hours later, you get a medal and a finisher's shirt and a hat, and you get to say, "I'm an Ironman." I couldn't think of anything cooler than that. So Shelly and I had a couple of obstacles. Neither of us owned a bike, and neither of us knew how to swim. We knew how to not drown, but we didn't know how to competitively swim. So the bike part was easy. There's a reason that there's the expression, it's like riding a bike. But the swimming part was a little more difficult. How do you become a swimmer as an adult? How do you learn to swim? You could get a coach, take some lessons, maybe go to a weekend clinic. Shelley and I are both technical writers, and for that reason, I think we have some real faith in the written word, because we went to Barnes & Noble, and we bought a book about swimming. We read that thing cover to cover, and then we took it with us to the gym and set it out by the pool, and we learned how to swim. It was ridiculous, but it worked. So we signed up for Ironman Arizona, which was held in November of 2012 in Tempe, Arizona. And we started to train for it. We swam in the morning before work. We ran at lunch. We rode our bikes all the time. On a Saturday, we would ride 7 or 8 hours during the day, spend the whole day doing this. Then we'd get up the next morning and run for 4 hours. Sometimes we ran twice on Sundays. It was crazy. 12 to 20 hours a week of training for a year. We treated it like a second job. It wasn't always fun, and it wasn't ever easy, but the goal is such a big, huge, cool goal that we were willing to do it all. We were all in, free to make this happen. So finally, a year later, race day is here. And Shelley and I find ourselves bobbing in the water of Tempe Town Lake in our wetsuits and our goggles, and we're ready to start this race. And there's crowds on the banks of the lake, and there's music playing, and there's an announcer yelling, "You're going to be an Ironman today." There's 3,000 other people in the lake with us getting ready to start this race, and we're treading water. And at that moment, a song starts to play over the speaker system, and it's a song that Shelley and I have listened to all summer and trained with, the one that was playing when I came out. It's called Titanium. And we looked at each other and we felt like this was it was meant for us. We're going to have a great day. And our goggles filled up with tears, and we hugged, wished each other well, because we wouldn't see each other again until the end of a really long day. And then the cannon went off, and the race started. And 3,000 people started swimming for the same point at the other end of the lake. The physical contact was crazy ridiculous. I was getting punched and kicked from both sides. People were swimming under, over. I was not prepared for this. Even though I'd heard all about it, I just wasn't prepared for how that was going to feel. It was terrifying. I realized that although Shelley and I were aiming to complete our first Ironman, along with probably half of the rest of those 3,000 people, the other half was in it to win no matter what. And they were not going to let a frightened newbie get in their way of that goal. In the first couple of minutes, I got kicked so hard in the face that my goggles filled up with water, and I hung onto the side of one of the kayaks, and I asked the lifeguard on board, "Am I bleeding?" And he said, no blood, just swim. So I let go, and I kept swimming, and for an hour and 18 minutes, that's what it was like. Eventually, I started to relax. I saw the end of the swim approaching, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I have almost finished my first Ironman swim. Not many people can say that. This is an accomplishment. This is awesome. Also, I was excited to get on the bike, because that's my favorite part. It's on land. It's going to be much safer than this swim. I have got this now. So I ran out of the water, so excited, jumped on my bike, started to ride into the race with 3,000 other people. They had closed down a highway in Phoenix for us to ride around for this bike race, 3 loops. It was exhilarating to ride with these people. There were professional triathletes out there racing to win, all these other age groupers that were racing as well, and then me on my bike, doing an Ironman. It was so cool. And our coach had told us, you need to savor this. It's your first race. You're not going to get another one. So you need to just be in the moment and enjoy yourself and not let the day pass too quickly. So I took that to heart, and I was feeling grateful and I was riding my bike, and at mile 72, everything changed. I was passing a slower cyclist, and another cyclist came to pass me. And when he came back over to get in front of me, our wheels touched. And we went sliding across 2 lanes of oncoming bike traffic and bounced off the curb on the other side. My day was done. The emergency personnel came running over and they said, "You have 2 choices. We can call an ambulance to come and take you to the hospital, or your family can come and get you." I had blood coming out of my leg. I didn't get a medal that day. I ended up spending the rest of the afternoon in an urgent care in Phoenix, taking care of some very superficial yet very bloody wounds on my leg. Didn't get to do it. I was not an Ironman. Shelly was. Shelly crushed it. She had such a great race. But I know she was uncomfortable with celebrating it because I hadn't been able to get my goal. It was an awkward, terrible situation. And the one thing that I knew was I needed to find a finish line. I needed one quick. The thing about these events is they sell out a year in advance. The only ones that are still open are the ones that nobody wants to do. And that is how I ended up training for Ironman Texas, which is held in Houston at the end of May. Yeah, not your ideal conditions for an endurance race. But it's what I had, and it's okay because Shelly was going to be there with me training. We were going to have a great time. No, Shelly had other plans. Shelly was going to have a baby. I'm not mad at Shelly because 6 months later, she showed up pregnant to this race, and she stood outside all day in 100-degree temperatures to cheer for me as I did my Ironman. At Ironman Texas, my big goal was to get through the bike. I was focused. I was determined. I was going to make this happen. When I got to mile 72 on the bike, which was where I had crashed in Arizona, I breathed a sigh of relief, and I said, "I've got this. I can just get to the marathon now, and I can crawl to the end. It'll be fine." What they don't tell you about Ironman is that it really doesn't become difficult until mile 80 on the bike. And that's when people start pulling off to the side of the road and taking off their helmets and putting down their bikes and going off to just sit down for a while because it's so hot and you're so tired. But no, I had my goal. I was going to make it. By mile 90, I gave up. And I stood there on the side of the road with my bike. And I thought to myself, this is so stupid. What are you doing? I didn't care that I had trained for a year and a half to get this goal. I just wanted to stop. I had one thing that would help me through this. I had carried in my pocket, for emergency purposes only, a particular item that I know if my coach knew that I was telling you about this, she would kill me. I pulled out of my pocket in a Ziploc bag a desperation donut. A glazed cake H-E-B donut. They are so good. And I stood there on the side of the road and I ate that donut, the whole thing, as I watched 300 people go by me. And I don't know what it was. I suppose it was the sugar, but I was able to get back on my bike, finish that bike ride, get to the marathon, and somehow run 26.2 miles through the streets of the Woodlands, Texas. And I got to the finish line. And I got to run up that chute into the bright lights with all the crowds cheering, and I high-fived and hugged my family. And the announcer yelled, "Kris Cordova, you are an Ironman." And I was so excited. So what do you do once you've reached the impossible goal? For me, I got on a roll, and I started asking why not. Why not enter a Facebook contest to try to get into what is advertised as the world's hardest Ironman in Norway, the Norseman Extreme Triathlon? That's how I ended up jumping off of a ferry into a fjord last summer, riding my bike across 5 mountain passes, and running halfway up a ski mountain to finish this race. It was amazing. I asked, why not try to get faster and see if I can qualify for the Ironman World Championships, the race that's held every year in Hawaii, that you've probably, if you know anything about Ironman, it's because you've seen that one on TV. It's so cool. That's how I ended up 2.5 weeks ago at Ironman Lake Tahoe, coming in within 5 places of attaining that goal. I'm going to keep trying until I make it. I know it will happen one day. Why not can apply to real life too? And I said, why not apply for that open position in Capital's Singapore office? I didn't get the position, but the power was in being willing to try. And when you find yourself going through a second divorce, you have the strength to get through it because you climbed your bike up some mountains a few months ago. Shelly and I are still running together, but our runs look a little bit different now. I know she would be with me in thanking Dan from the gym for sending us on this journey because it has been incredible. And my dad is here today too. He doesn't know I'm going to do this. Okay. Dad, when I was 13 years old, I watched you cross the finish line of the Houston Marathon. You qualified for Boston that day. And when you were reunited with us and with Mom, you collapsed and you were so filled with emotion. And I didn't know what that was about. And I was worried that something was wrong with you. Now I understand that it's because you were so exhausted from the effort, but also filled with joy from achieving an enormous goal like that. And thanks to your encouragement, I know what that feels like now for myself. And I want to thank you and Mom for being there at every finish line from Houston to Norway to Lake Tahoe. Thank you. To everyone here today, I just want to say, if you have an impossible dream, do it. Chase it. If you start, you will make it happen. All you have to do is ask yourself, why not? And then all you do is win. Thank you.